Dave. Thank you, Ann. I am not going to say a whole lot because I don't want to steal his thunder because he has a wonderful presentation. But just so you know, Ann, I don't know if you know this, but he's a retired school principal. And he's a Sun Prairian that has lived here for 50 years or so. So I am very pleased and excited to announce Gary Einerson. Did I say that correctly, Gary? And he's going to speak a little bit about his story. It's going to be a surprise. I'm not stealing your thunder, Gary.
Thanks, Laura. I'm very happy to be here. I have to apologize for the voice. When I told Laura I was fighting a cold and maybe this would be a problem, she said, well, nobody knows what you sounded like before, so that's okay. But, anyway, I find that when I talk to groups about organ donation, I'm very passionate about that. It's kind of a cause of mine, and the reasons you'll find about very soon. I'll often make a comment that put more than two people together, and I'll be happy to talk about organ donation. But the best way I think to convey why I feel that way is tell you a little bit of my story. I'm 80 years old, and when I turned 70, all hell broke loose. Up to that point, I'd been in great health. I was a high school and college athlete. I was in good physical condition. I took care of myself. And then in my early 70s, around 69 or 70, I started to develop some eye issues. And bottom line was I had a disease called Fuchs syndrome. And it's a deterioration of the cells behind the cornea. My father had it, but it was undiagnosed, and he was practically blind. It's a hereditary thing. Now, we all lose these cells over a period of time, but normal people, I'm not one of those, they'll regenerate. Mine don't, from a hereditary standpoint. So right away, I'm a candidate for cornea transplants. I received 3 cornea transplants. You know, I don't have 3 eyes. One didn't take, but of course I had to do the cataract thing first. So I've had 8 eye surgeries over the years, but I have 20/40 vision now with correction. So that's one reason I feel good about tissue and organ donation. During the time that I was rehabbing from that, it takes about a year to get through a cornea transplant, get back to what would be normal. I started to develop some symptoms I thought were a result of the cornea transplant. So I was nauseous, I was dizzy, my balance wasn't good, and I attributed it to that. I did a physical in December, everything was fine except for that, of course. And then one day I took a real header in the driveway and I broke my glasses and cut my head. And I thought, well, I better go to the doctor and find out. And I was diagnosed with liver and kidney failure. It was later diagnosed as an enzyme deficiency. The name I really can't even try to pronounce. But anyway, I was in treatment for about a month, and then I was admitted to the hospital, and I was in the hospital 6 weeks. Because of my age, I was 72 at the time. The doctors were afraid that I couldn't handle the surgery. Luckily, again, I was in good physical shape. Don't mean to brag about that, but it really helped my health. Anyway, so I was either, if I wasn't the oldest, I was one of the oldest recipients of a liver in the Houston University Hospital at the time. Luckily, that's been bypassed. They've gone beyond that, which is great. 70 is generally considered the cutoff. Well, I'm not sure any of you are familiar, I don't know if I have any physicians in here or not, but the diagnosis on a liver is based on a scale of 5 to 40. 5 being fine, 40 being dead, and 32, 33 is considered serious. My MELD count is modeled for liver disease or something like that. My MELD count was 38. So I jumped really up fast to the top of the list. And my family found out from the doctors that I had a week or 10 days at the most. I didn't know that, they didn't tell me, thank goodness. But I always had a positive attitude, and I was just sailing along like everything's going to be fine. Unfortunately for a young man from Stoughton, but fortunate for me, a 19-year-old boy was killed in a car accident south of McFarland. 2 days later, I hit his liver. And 5 days later, I'm out of the hospital. So, remarkable recovery in terms of that. I attributed it to several things. Obviously, great doctors and nurses, superb family support. More importantly, I think a positive attitude and a power of prayer. I'm not a Bible thumper by any stretch of the imagination, but I do believe in faith, and I was confident I was going to get along just fine. And I did. My wife, during that time, we'd been married well over 50 years at the time. And she was my nurse and the angel on my shoulder all during the time I was sick. Took care of me. I could not have come home without her. Unfortunately, 3 years after my surgery, she died very suddenly of an aneurysm. She was a very, very healthy woman, 76 years old, never took any medication of any kind at that age. Remarkable. Doctor said she had a body of a 60-year-old woman. She always wanted to be a donor, but was concerned because of her age she never would be able to. But she was. She donated her liver and her kidneys and saved 2 lives. So that gave us an element of peace in our family, to know that she had in fact done that. Consequently, our family became very supportive of all that, you know, the tissue and organ donation. And my oldest daughter is a trooper also. She lives up in Sturgeon Bay, up in Door County. And she does the same thing I do. And she talked to the Rotary up there about a month ago, interestingly enough, in Sturgeon Bay. So she likes to spread the word too, as much as I do. Now, along with that, there are, I take meds for immune depressant. One of the reasons I have a cold right now. But generally speaking, I've been took pretty good care of myself. But versus luck would have it, I started to have some problems back in November, and I was diagnosed with let's see, I gotta remember this now, lymphoproliferative disease. And it's 10% of liver transplants get this cancer. So, okay, now I got cancer, right? So, anyway, I was in the hospital 16 days, missed Christmas at home, but the family brought Christmas to me. We took our own home in Tulsa. My grandkids were all there. We had a great time, even though I was pumped up full of stuff sticking in my arms and all that. But we got through that. I went through radiation after the chemo, and now I'm cancer-free. So anyway, I come to you today healthy, knock on wood, and hopefully I can maintain that health. And therein lies my story. I could say a lot more. I could give you a lot of statistics. I'll leave you with just a couple thoughts after, and I'm certainly open for questions. To give you an idea of the need, there are 114,000 people in the country right now waiting for organ transplants. 95,000 of them are waiting for kidneys. That's in most demand. There are 2,000 in the state of Wisconsin, 1,700 are waiting for kidneys. There are 50 children in Wisconsin waiting for organ transplants. There is a need out there. 3% of the population that pass away can be organ donors because they have, generally speaking, a sudden death, aneurysm, car accident, gunshot wound, that type of thing. So the pool is very small. Luckily, we live in an area that has phenomenal care. University Hospital, of course, and Freighter and Milwaukee, the 2 transplant units in the state of Wisconsin have been marvelous in transplant procedures. I'm very happy to be part of that Midwest group. So we live in a rich quote area as far as organ transplant. Not so much in places like Texas, California, and New York, where the populations are very heavy. And people have to wait a lot longer. Luckily for me, I only had to wait about a day or 2, but it was getting close. So with that, I like to leave things with an opportunity for questions. It seems like more information is relayed through question and answer period than it is for me standing up here and spouting. But if there's anything more you need to know or would like to know, I always tell my audience, no question is off limits. If I can't answer it, I'll tell you that. If I won't answer it, I'll tell you that. But ask anything you want about my personal life relative to anything relative to organ and tissue donation.